So, most of you know I'm not a Ferrari guy, but what's lesser known, the Ferrari Club, specifically the Southwest chapter, hosts amazing drives throughout the region. So why not, for the first outing with the GT3, join the Ferrari Club, but not on one of their run-of-the-mill drives. Rather, their annual drive and show to a place where the sky is not at all the limit.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So this wasn't just an opportunity for a car show, this was an opportunity for access to an incredible facility. Vandenberg Air Force Base was originally established in 1941, and then alongside with the formation of the Space Force was turned into a Space Force base in May of 2021. Our hosts, Lieutenant Colonel Hauser and the team there, they are all car guys, so they were all too excited to showcase their entire facility. And one of the opportunities we had the day before the car show was to tour the Space Launch Complex number 6. This is also referred to as Slick 6. Now that's all fine and good, but what's the purpose of Slick 6? It was originally designed to be the launch site for the Titan family of rockets, but with the advent of the Space Shuttle program, it was the ideal location from which to launch polar missions, so it became the West Coast launch site for the Space Shuttle program. However, in 1986, after the Challenger disaster, it was rebuilt again to support the Athena family of rockets, and then rebuilt again to support Delta IV launches, the last one being September 24th of 2022. Now, aside from being the most expensive parking lot for car freaks like us, what's the future for Slick 6? Well, in April of this year, it was leased to SpaceX, who's going to modify it and use it for their own launch missions. Okay, so let's start this tour with the Ferrari. Now, technically, this is not a Ferrari car show. This is the exotic car show at Vandenberg Space Force Base, but this is put on or really sponsored by the Ferrari Club of America Southwest region. One of the members, probably my favorite car in the show, at least Ferrari's. This is a 67 330 GT. This is special for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, this is the first volume Ferrari. They made these in numbers, meaning over 1,000 units. That's a lot for Ferraris in the 60s. Now, second, this car is owned by Paul Schaefer. No, not that Paul Schaefer. Paul Schaefer of California. It's not the car that one buys done. It's not the car that one buys and has done. Paul literally restored this car with his own two hands. Here he is working on the engine. And then there's a couple of shots here where he actually prepped the body for the paint shop himself, stripped the paint, and then, the smart man that he is, he sent the car off to the paint shop to get done by a professional. Now here's where we get to the point of patina. That's old car hobby speak for originality. You look at this car, it looks perfect. The paint probably better than it came out of the factory. The 12-cylinder engine you could probably eat off of. However, the interior is original. So when I say original, it's the original red leather interior with a stunning wood dash. Now this is a late 60s car, so it doesn't have the toggle switches of like the early 60s cars of that era. Instead, it's got these push switches, which are like a reinterpretation of toggle switches for the time. Either way, stunning decision to go with the original interior and update the rest of the car. Now we press on to another fascinating Ferrari, but this is not fascinating because it's a 430. This is fascinating because of some of the choices the owner has taken with this car. First and foremost, you look at that color, it's not Tour de France blue. Rather, it's a color that you have seen before in a very volume serial production car. Yes, that is Smurf blue from an NA Miata. They call it, I believe, Mariner Blue. I might get the name wrong there. But Kevin, he spec'd this car from new. And that brings us to the second point of why this thing is so special. Now, if one were to look closely, you would see a lot of chips on the front of the car. And one would assume Kevin is neglecting this. He's not taking care of it. That would absolutely be the wrong assumption. You see, most folks that buy cars like these, they have a tendency to not put miles on them. They baby them, me included. Kevin's a bit of a hero in this world. He has 4 Ferraris in total, and rather than babying these cars, over the 4 cars, he has put over 600,000 miles. This guy, he needs like a Nobel Peace Prize in the Ferrari world. Then we press on to something completely different, Detroit Muscle. This one's owned by one of the listed here at the base. And there's a fascinating story here. The car kind of looks like a candy apple or a ruby color. It wasn't always that color. You see, this car he bought about 1.5 years ago, and it needed a paint job. Why? Because he was taking it home to show his family, and he hit a boar just outside the base. So I took the opportunity to change the color, and you can see some of the flames that are very simple inside the paint job. Okay, so of course we got to look at some Porsches. Let's start with the classic. This is a 59 356A, sort of. This actually was produced only a week or 2 before they switched over to the B, so it has some B bits on the car. It's got a B transmission. However, they didn't leave well enough alone. There's some changes here, like for example, the engine is punched out to 1740 cc, so it's 90 horsepower. That doesn't sound like a lot. This car, it weighs as much as a postage stamp, so it can keep up probably with that car over there. Then the wheels, they look like they're factory. They're not. Those are Dodge Dart wheels, so they're wider than the wheels that were fitted to the car from the factory. Now this car, interesting history with it in that, yeah, it's owned by a member of the Ferrari Club, but actually it was owned by 2 members of the Ferrari Club. Now this is where it gets confusing. The first owner in the Ferrari Club sold it to another Ferrari Club member. He's the one that made the changes to the car, and then 10 years later, he sold it back to that first owner in the Ferrari Club. But in an unusual twist, it's the second owner of the car that actually puts the most miles on it now. That's Italian logic. Of course, have to go to another car from one of the listed here on the base. This, a Toyota Supra, this is a 21, so remember, this one has got the B58, but it's the more powerful, it's the 382 horsepower. Back when Mike Smith, who bought this car, knew they were going for crazy over sticker, he found a dealer that ultimately sold him the car for less than sticker. Here's Mike, you can see him here. If you want him to negotiate on your behalf, his services will come at a fee. But he literally, as you can see, babies this car, and it's nice to see something different than Detroit Muscle or Italian or German here at the show. So Mike, thank you very much for bringing this to the show. Today, one of those magical days in life, but more importantly, this was a very graphic lesson of how we describe this hobby of ours. We don't buy a car, we buy a story. There were many on offer. However, this one I have yet to share with you. Upon the loadout, I saw a GR Corolla, a white one. I went and introduced myself to the owner, young airman. He negotiated himself when the car first came out, got it at a discount. But more fascinating, his plans for the car. He is not going to modify it, and he's going to hand it down to his future children. That brings us to 2 points of business. Number one, a couple of thank yous. Major thank you to Lieutenant Colonel Hauser. He's the one that invited us here. We've been doing this now for 11 years. It's my first time participating in this event. And then a huge thank you to Jim Beinman. He runs the Ferrari Club of America Southwest, and he's the one putting this together for the past 11 years. Incredible event because we've kind of had the run of the base to kind of see the beauty here, like the statue to Ronald Reagan. And then, what was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, if you found this fascinating, highly suggest you watch my episode where we parked 105 classic cars in the backyard of the design director of Buick globally. You can watch that episode here. Until I see you in the next episode, bis später.